Welcome, my friends, Contractor Sales Academy podcast. We are in the midst of, what are we in the midst of right now, guys? There's a lot of stuff going on in the world.
We are in the middle of a very weird sci-fi movie. You know, we've all seen them. They're called Virus. They're called Pandemic. They're called The Omega Man. They're called I Am Legend. And we've seen all these movies and we're like, oh, that was fantastic. But you know what? That will never happen to us.
Yeah.
And that's what we're in the middle of. That would never happen to us.
I'm a little pissed that we don't have zombies right now, though, because that would kind of be cool.
Yeah, you know, I told somebody the other day, I'm going business as usual, growing business and stuff and life until I see a zombie.
Yep. And it's like, okay.
Then I'm like, all right. And I've been storing up rounds for my 9mm, you know, and hitting the range and making sure my headshots are good. And,
it's got to be,
because I think that's in all the video games and it's a headshot that kills them, right? So either that or like a ice pick to the brain or whatever.
Anything. Well, I think which kind of ties into what we're going to talk about today. I mean, it's you're rejecting the zombie, and sometimes we feel like we get stabbed or shot in the head when we're talking to prospects.
Wow, I like how you transitioned to the topic today, man. That was like without any planning or anything. You were just on the like smooth like butter.
You know,
so rejection. I think the three of us have been rejected quite a few times in our lives, not just in the sales process, but probably by girls growing up, and
we're married.
You know, you're married, yeah. No soup for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this rejection thing, it's funny. Today I had one of my group coaching calls before this, and the topic was actually all about scoring points and selling and blah, blah, blah. And I talked about how we've talked here before, guys, that you market your business like your next meal depends on it, super aggressively, but sell like you're independently wealthy. And I think somewhere in there, rejection fits into that, because when you have the right mindset about selling your services and stuff, you don't get all bent out of shape and butt hurt when somebody rejects you. And Steve, before we hit record, you were talking about, you've estimated you've been rejected about 1,800 times in the last 5 years or so.
Yeah, in the last 6 years, just based on how many leads I get, because, you know, 3/4 of them say no to me right on the phone. I do everything by phone. I will go out to the home, but that's to pick up a deposit check. But probably 90% of all my sales, I never even leave my office. So I got to be okay with sticking to my process, which is this 5-step Shin Fu process, and being okay with getting rejected. And by the way, except for maybe one of the 1,800, I get rejected for money because I am at the highest end of my market, and that they love everything I gotta say, except when we get to the money part, which is okay because I choose to be that. I choose to, you know, I pay my people the most and all this kind of stuff. So I'm never going to do anything for under 50% gross profit margin, and I stick to my guns. And so I hear a lot of no's, and and the other one person I remember was like 4 years ago. They hung up on me. They were pissed at me because they didn't like all my questions. And they said, I don't like this form of interrogation or something to that effect to me.
Right.
So I think rejection comes in a lot of different ways in the sales process, though.
Mm-hmm.
It can come through, just through Shin Fu. It can come in all the steps. And I feel the more we practice, the more comfortable we get with rejection. And I just literally had a Shin Fu shortly before our call, and it was the rejection that I received is he asked what next steps were, and I said next steps at this point is 50% deposit, because consulting is not necessary, and you understand our process, and you understand, our company well enough, you social proofed us. And I said, we had a $15,000 conversation, so I need to come see you and get a $7,500 check. He said, well, I'm talking to 2 other contractors.
Mm.
No, he said, I have not heard from the other 2 contractors yet. And I was like, perfect. You know, do this for me. Talk to those other guys, come back to me. Said, you know, I've been in Nashville all my life. I probably even know those guys. And he said, well, it's Hewitt's Nursery and it's Gardens of Babylon. I said, I absolutely know those guys. They're fantastic. You're going to struggle picking who you're going to hire. And he literally said, what? I was like, they're fantastic companies. We're probably going to be apples to apples. I mean, you kind of have a design. So he didn't even know what to do. So he rejected me and said, let me talk to those guys and then I'll call you back. So it can come in many forms. It doesn't have to just be like, Steve, your price is just too high. I mean, he's going to have to make a really tough decision. And it's going to be hard because I know both the designers at both of those companies. And we operate very similar. So this dude is going to have to make a choice. It's probably not even going to be price. It's going to be on personality. So
I have I don't know what the word I'm looking for. I have this idea in my head when I talk to anybody, and my goal isn't to win this person over and collect the money. I mean, that's what I want. But my real goal is when I talk to anybody, a prospect, I'm just trying to find out if they're in or they're out.
Yeah.
I want to know if they're going to be my customer or not going to be my customer. And if I determine at any point that I'm pretty darn sure they're not going to be my customer, I'm cool with cutting them loose, you know, and not wasting more time. I mean, I'll just say it. I want to get off the phone as fast as I can so I can expend my energy to someone who wants to be my customer.
how do you say that, Steve? Like, for instance, if we're role playing, I'm the customer right now, and I'm just coming across like, well, my project's just not what you want to do. Let's just say I want you to install a natural swimming pool, but I want it to be chlorinated, and that's not something that you do. And you want to segue out of that. How do you get out of that conversation?
I'll say that's out of my level of expertise. You know what? I could probably pull it off, Derek, but I'd just be practicing, and I don't want to practice in your backyard.
That's one of my favorite lines.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
But what if it's an attitude thing? What if you just know that this person's going to be a PETA, a pain in the ass, and you don't want to deal with them?
Well, with the PETA, hopefully I find out the PETA prior to me pricing it, because otherwise I'll price myself right out of it.
Right.
I mean, that's, you know, if I'm thinking, just say whatever it is, if I'm thinking 1,000, I might say 2,500. And you know what? For 2,500, I'll put up with PETA.
There you go.
And I've had PETA before, which requires me literally, I can't sick a PETA on my guys. I got to go out there first, and I got to vanguard the PETA, you know, in person to person with my guys. And I've done that before. And I want another $1,500. If I'm going to have to get off my ass and ride out to the job site and do that, that's what I want.
Steve, I've heard you say many amazing things. I never was prepared for you to say vanguard the PETA.
Well, I have to go out there and say, I will say, now, me and Mr. Jones, we talked about, here's the things we can do, but here's the things that we cannot do, because we just don't know what we're doing with this. Because I want him to hear it again. I want my people to hear it again. And I want everybody to be clear. We can do X, Y, and Z, but we cannot do A, B, and C. And if we try A, B, and C, we're just going to screw it up. So please don't ask us to try it. And guys, don't do it. Are we good with this? It's that straightforward, because you know, you can go sick your team out on some PETA, and they'll try it all over again with your team. And your team's normally not you, so they can sneak shit in. It's like, Tom, in your paint world, you said, no, we're not doing all the trim. We're not doing all the trim. And okay, but your guys will come out there and they go, well, you know, Tom said you guys are doing all the trim. So, okay, I guess we are. And they'll do the trim, right? And I just need to stop that in its place.
So we get rejected because of price. We get rejected, you know, maybe somebody just doesn't like our process, right? We get rejected. They just don't like or trust you, right? There's a lot of reasons. And I think, you know, yeah, there's certainly a percentage of people where it's price, but in your case, Steve, it's a higher percentage because you are I don't mean expensive in a bad way, but you're just way more expensive than other pond people. I get that. But you also deliver on that. So, and it's justified, but it's like, so I could see that, but most customers or most prospects are liars. They don't, they hide from you. They don't just come right out and say, Derek, I'd like to tell you that it's your price, but it's really that I just don't like you. Like they don't want to say it. So we get rejected in all these ways, but I want to throw something in here too that I think might, and I'm spitballing here, so I might be even way off base, but both of you guys are like, oh, what's he
Here
doing?
we go.
I wonder how much of the rejection that we get as a salesperson is self-imposed. How much of our own head trash is really rejecting us before we ever get into the process, before we ever even have a conversation with somebody. I think we reject ourselves and our value and those things many times. So it's not always the customer that's rejecting us. It's, we know the right things to do. Steve, if you knew to price your work at 50% or better, but didn't do it, you rejected yourself. Does that make sense? Am I explaining this weird? Or are you guys just going Tom Chase the subject?
No, it does, because it's,
Yes.
well, you can even socially set yourself up to be rejected, and with your website or your social presence.
Love it. Yep.
It's a lot of different ways. And if you don't have some sort of sales process and you talk, well, for instance, a customer can definitely reject you if you're on the phone with them, because that's the age that we're at. And it's video conferencing is the next frontier of a lot of stuff that's going to be happening. And you have to make sure that you present yourself well, and you have to listen to the person, because if you don't make them feel heard, and you don't know how to make them feel heard, and you don't know how to ask them questions, they're going to pick up on you and just go, I don't even want to deal with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're not listening to me. I don't even want to invite you to my house now. So immediately I'm going to talk to other contractors. So this is really, it's the Broadway play. You really have to have your shit together and act and put yourself in a position that when you're speaking with someone or they're viewing you, that they want to hire you, not just because of your things, your product things, but you yourself, just like a relationship. It's like dating. They want to know that the person that's going to work with them is someone they want to have around.
Well, I love what you said at the top too. Like you don't have your website dialed in. You look like you're a schmuck. You're in shitty vehicles or whatever it is. And your appearance, that's a form where it's friendly fire rejection right there.
You
Steve,
see
your thoughts?
This, I'm going to go real deep here for a second.
Oh,
It's really what we think of ourselves. If you are really confident in yourself and you're pretty strong and you have the process in place and all these things, it's going to be pretty easy for you to stand firm with all your convictions and all the things you believe about yourself. If you don't really have confidence in yourself, if you really don't think you're top notch and you really don't believe in all the things that you're saying that's coming out of your mouth, then you're going to fold like a deck of cards, man, because it's hard enough. This sales thing is super hard in the first goddamn place. If you have a process and you believe in yourself, you really are firm in your own convictions, then you can pull all this off. But if you're running scared, we talk about a scarcity mindset and abundant mindset. And if you're running scared all the time, just because you're insecure, both emotionally and financially, particularly, you're going to start making decisions because your back's up against the wall, and it's never a good place to start. So all of this stuff we're talking about rejection, just think about it. When we were in high school and you asked somebody to the prom and they said no, the first 2 or 3 people said no. You're like, there's not going to be a fourth because I can't take any more of that, but you grow up and you realize, you're not as bad. But a lot of us, this, and I know I'm all over the goddamn place, but all this talk, 80% of the talk in your head is negative. It's you bashing you, and if you're already bashing you, there's not much room for a customer. They can easily slip a word in there and you go, see, I knew it. I knew I was a piece of shit.
so let's elaborate on that, because when we're talking rejection, you're talking prom. So now I'm going, what is it like to talk to a guy or girl for the first time in that scenario? If you say something cheesy, if you have a cheesy line where they're going to pick up on it and they're going to blow you off, well, that's kind of like what the typical contractor's doing, because they don't have a process. They don't have a line to use. So, oh, are you hurt? Oh, no, I'm fine. Well, I figured you were, because you must have fell from heaven. What the like, people say shit like that. But if you're actually going to date someone and you go up and you say, hi, my name is Derek. What's your name? What do you do? Oh, really? Tell me more about that. Oh, that's amazing. You do. Oh my God, that's fantastic. Well, they're going to be drawn to you. So once you do that enough, then you have the confidence like Steve's talking about. So that goes away and you walk into a room, and yes, you could ask multiple men, girls, whatever your choice is, out, because you now have a process and confidence that really all you're going to do is ask them about themselves, their favorite person.
Yep.
And what was the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People? That's one of the main things he talks about. If you want to form a relationship, talk about them.
Hey, let me give everybody listening, Tom and Derek, a practical way to be okay with rejection.
Okay.
Y'all have heard the story before, but when I first started this, I just coincidentally hired a home advisor at the same time. Now, home advisor at the time, this was 6-7 years ago, they were just handing me all the Walmart, Dollar General people of the industry. I'm a Nordstrom's person. That's my customer. And after like 5, I'm like, God, I'm terrible. But then I realized every customer is going to be a Walmart person. So I might as well go through practice my process. This is when I was honing my skills and learning this whole thing. And I knew when we got to the money, but and I think I did like 64. I got 64 of these. I did a 3-month trial, and I paid like $3,000 for it. And I got 64. I sold one job, one. And so I got 63 freaking no's. And that is when I really clicked in my head. This is just a game. This is the game. It is a Broadway play, right? Performed by a shrink. We're the shrinks. And so we're just going to go through the process and let it play out and do the best we can. But it's practice, 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 rejection, rejection, rejection. So now, and I'll just ask you point blank, Derek, because you've been at this thing for a solid, 3-4 years?
Yeah.
This thing?
Yeah.
Think about what your mindset was 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and what is your mindset today? Because Tom and I have seen the transformation, and I see a guy that you could step up and you honestly believe, and I believe it too, you could stand in the ring with anybody.
Sure.
5 years ago, I don't think you believe you could have stood in the ring with 90% of the people.
I didn't understand the ring. I mean, I didn't know what to do when I was in there. Like, I really didn't. So if use the ring as the customer's backyard, the customer space. I didn't even have a process of what it looked like to get out of the truck and knock on the door.
Right.
Like, I would just, do I go to the front door? Do I park in the yard? Do I park on the front of the street and pull in the driveway? Do I go to the back of the house? I mean, they say backdoor guest are best. I mean, that's me, right? So it's like I didn't have any sort of, so put me in the ring. I don't even know what the hell I was doing. Like, I can't even, I would like to go back and just, what the hell did I do when I walked into their house? What did I say? I mean, obviously it's like just I threw up everywhere. So just made a mess of it.
You know what you remind me of, Derek? Literally, before I started this, you just reminded me of this. This was me. I am stepping up on the front porch. I had made an appointment, and they were even paying me $75 to show up back then. But I wasn't having the conversation on the phone first. I was just booking an appointment, and I'm literally stepping up, ringing the doorbell, and I'm flipping through my notes to go, why am I even here? Is it a cleaning? Is it a leak? Is it a pond bill? After I rang the doorbell, then I'm starting to put a little bit of work into why the hell I'm even here. Because I thought, as soon as they open that door and they see me, it's a done deal. They're going to buy whatever I got. Because I am so smart, so fast, smooth talking, and so damn good looking, man. How could they refuse me? And that was my game plan, which by the way worked out. I think I closed 24% of everything I went to, which means 76% of all customers said, thanks, but no thanks. I want to think it over.
And they even invited you to their house even. So
No, and they decided they were going to pay me. I said, sure, just for $75. Okay, show up. And I'm on the front stoop figuring out why the hell I'm even there.
So it's funny you talk about the charging you to show up $7,500 or whatever it was. Steve, when I first met you, I remember one time you were doing I think it was in Cabo. You did that little seminar that we did down there, that whole day long thing that you did, and you shared your P&L and stuff, and people were looking through your P&L, and I'll never forget this. Somebody next to me said, "Oh my God, he made $7,500 last year just on consults. That's awesome."
I'm excited about that too.
It was so funny because this person was like, and I was like, yeah, but that's $75, and he went out 100 times or whatever the hell it was, and how much of that really turned into work. And it's actually not the goal. The goal is for you not to get a consultation fee. The goal is to get a deposit check or not go there at all. So it's funny how perception has changed. I think one of the other really good things about rejection, if you have a sales process and you're rejected, having a process allows you to identify exactly where you went wrong. Yep. It's like breaking down the game film the day after the football game or whatever, just going, all right, this is why this play didn't work. This is why this is where this fell apart on me, is I didn't do a good job on really confirming step 3 of, the Shin Fu or whatever it is. So I just think, when you have a process, it helps you accept rejection a little easier because you're able to identify it unemotionally.
It does with that process. So now I'm thinking about when I go to the door, I don't carry anything in with me at all. I have my phone in my pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And I still sometimes get out of my Jeep and go, I should have with me. Like I should have, but nope, I've already done everything. Everything's been done in the office before I even went out there, or in the Jeep because I was riding around and I pulled off the lake and I made the phone call and I did the deal there. It's just it's fascinating how, well, okay, case in point, the call that I was on before, let me look at this real quick. The call I was on before the Shin Fu, we got on the webinar, look at my time. I was on the phone 50 minutes with this guy.
50.
So, I'm sorry?
50.
Yeah, 50. My southern accent.
50? It was 50?
50 cents.
All right.
50 minutes. So I liked the guy. We had a nice conversation. Probably 15, 20 minutes of it was really to get down to what he wanted. The rest of the 30 minutes was us just talking. So I would have went out there, wasted my time, just the normal drive time, but then spent 50 minutes, well, definitely more than that, but just fun conversation. So just time wasting there because I just want to talk to the guy and he just wanted to talk to me. And we had a nice conversation. So so that takes me back to when I used to go out and show up in people's houses. I had zero conversation with them before. And then I would show up in their space and probably spend 2 hours there just hanging out with them. Not to mention my drive time. So that's what I did before. I just went and hung out with people and just, told them how cool I was. And it took about an hour for me to do that every time.
Well, that must be so many things you're really cool about to take that long, man. So as we wrap this up, I know we've bounced a little bit. We talked about rejection and some of these other things. What's one takeaway you each want people to have in the realm of rejection here before we sign off?
Well, I'll just say I got 2 takeaways. One, if you don't have a good lead flow, it's hard to take rejection. It's hard to accept a no because you don't want to get rejected from the last person on earth because that's the final no. So that's number one. So, I have good marketing like Derek does. So we get leads all the time to do rejected. And number 2, the most important part is having a process that you have practiced, focused practice on your process. So when the bullets fly for real, you're cool.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Derek?
You and I talked about this a couple of years ago that I started realizing, I'm going to segue into this, started realizing that when I go and I pick up a deposit from a customer, that's actually my profit. So
Yep.
now, in reference to that, when I get a rejection, I'm prepared, I'm ready, everything is in place. So for every rejection I get, I know I'm that much closer to getting another deal. So it's just like, cool, no problem, no problem. I'm callous to it. I'm ready for it because I have enough leads. I have a process. I can go through it. So if I get rejected, it's like, sweet. The next call, I'm probably going to nail it. Got another rejection? Totally cool. Got another rejection? Totally cool. Next call, bam, nailed it.
Well, there's a concept in personal development, right? That every failure takes you closer to your success, right? So a few years ago, I think it was 2016 or 17, I interviewed an author, Andrea Waltz was her name, I think, on my podcast. And she wrote a book called Go for No. And that the destination that you want is yes, but you gotta get through the no's as fast as you can. And she shared a story where some company that she knows, they would set a goal for their salespeople who were doing outbound calls and dialing to set appointments or whatever the hell it was. They gave bonuses for the first sales rep to get to 1,000 no's.
Wow.
Like that. So they were rewarding the no's because they knew that you get through the no's, you're going to find those yeses out there. And Steve, that's kind of what you've been saying all along. You know, if people were listening to us on the phone for several years or just hanging out, is you got so many leads coming in the business, you can burn through them because you know you don't have to get them all because you're charging what you need to charge. Your head's in the right place. You know, you're going to make a profit. So you can forego, you could sell 1 or 2 out of 10 jobs and make more money than the guy who's selling 5 out of 10 jobs, you know, and be less busy and less running around. So all that's a whole nother can of worms. But yeah, guys, go, you know, the no is not a bad thing. Rejection is not a bad thing. If you have a process that you can filter it through, if you've got, you know, some people around you or a community around that can help you identify why you might be rejected and all those other things. And then if you're open to getting better, you're open to improving the things that you suck at, you want to get your marketing in order, I just read a post of a guy today in one of our groups who, he was like owning his crap going, yeah, I've been in business 3 years and I bought a domain for my website and I just haven't gotten around to making a website yet. I'm like, well, then you deserve to not have any, man. You know, like that's like business 101. Get a goddamn website up. Jesus, I don't know. Don't even get me started. But appreciate everybody hanging with us today. Share this with another contractor. Give us a rating wherever you're listening to this. If you want to learn more about what we got going on, head to contractorsalesacademy.com. Get your ass in the bridge program and change the game for yourself, your family, your future. With that, we're out.